Okay, I was going to say quick video, but it might not be quick. And today's video, it's going to be using the sword searcher and dictionaries. Now, these dictionaries can come in handy if you're looking into something specific. So you can buy them still on Amazon. And here's the dictionaries. You can see that there's a lot. Now, if you can't see it, a lot of people use Webster's dictionary for looking up a word in the Bible. But if you want to look up more, something like the Moorish, Morrish, Bible Dictionary, the Smith Dictionary, and then the Fawcett Dictionary. Now, Fawcett, he has a commentator of a Bible, and he works with another person called Jameson and another person called Smith. So if you see the Jameson Smith Fawcett dictionary, I mean not dictionary, commentator, I don't know why I can't talk today. Commentary down here. It should be down here. That's strange. Okay, I think it's over here. So Jameson Fawcett Brown. But then you also have the Fawcett dictionary. So looking into this, let me just get the internet going. It takes a while. Come on. It's like the old times where you gotta boot up the computer. And you'd have to wait a while. I think people forget those days. But they weren't that long ago. Okay. So, just going to the YouTube. Like I said, it takes a while to get going. Okay. Let's see. Made someone upset there. Yeah. So Frank Sinatra has a witchcraft song, and that's something because last night that was the verse I was talking about, and then it shows up today, and that's just how it goes sometimes. So 1 Samuel 15:23, for rebelling is as the sin of witchcraft, and stubbornness is as iniquity and idolatry. Because thou hast rejected the word of the Lord, he hath also rejected thee from being king. And then for this person, I also listed 2 Chronicles 33:6. And he caused his children to pass through the fire in the valley of the son of Hinnom. Also he observed times and used enchantments and used witchcraft and dwelt with a familiar spirit and with wizards. He wrought much evil in the sight of the Lord to provoke him to anger. So you see in 1 Samuel 15:33, sometimes we think as, witchcraft. I mean, usually a lot of people, think of witchcraft as witches today, and there are people that are doing that. And it gets promoted in movies like Harry Potter. And they're targeting the children to get them, the Bible says train up a child when he's young. So you want to train up your child in the ways of God. But what Hollywood is doing, it's training up the children into witchcraft through Harry Potter. And so you have to realize, though, rebellion is promoted too. You think through music. I just think of some of the musicians, like the rock music, teaches people to rebel. So that rebellion, whether it be against God, parents, authority, governments. Let's just change that to basic. that rebellion is seen as witchcraft. And stubbornness, it says, it's as iniquity and idolatry. So I guess when a lot of people get stubborn, they can turn to maybe idolizing themselves or something else. And then the next part, that's why you have the Word of God, and you have to realize that it's God's book. So when and you're reading the Bible, it says, "Thus saith the Lord," He's talking through the prophets, sometimes through the Holy Spirit, but other times directly talking to them. So He was talking to the people, and still does today, but they were hearing His voice back then as far as that goes. And you still hear from the Lord today as a Christian. But remember when He was talking to Moses, for one example, he was talking to him, and so they rejected the word of the Lord, and He rejected thee from being king. So that's why it's important, if you're witnessing or trying to reach someone, if they reject the Bible as being the Word of God, they're rejecting the Lord, and the Lord can reject you. So when witnessing, that's kind of an important thing to start off with. You should see where the person, stands there, and to make sure they realize it's the Word of God. And in 2 Chronicles 33:6, we can get that up. So just eating breakfast right now. I'm usually not doing a video this early. But I guess I had more time and I was off from work. So 2 Chronicles. And this is not even where the video was supposed to go. So it might be a little bit longer video, but that's okay. Now, 33:6, I think it was, in 2 Chronicles. And get up this here and go. Okay. So I forgot where it was talking about. So Manasseh. And that's where I come a little short, remembering people in the Bible and who they were, especially the kings. Some people are better at that. I just struggle with names. So it was talking about Manasseh, but that's included here to show, this video about Frank Sinatra, this witchcraft video. I mean, if you want to do something for the Lord, you can even post comments on these YouTube videos. I mean, here I posted this one, I don't know how long ago, a year ago, and someone still sees it today. So, do what you can. I don't want to hear Frank Sinatra's witchcraft song. But look, it was released in 1957. So they were promoting, their witchcraft was really big with these Hollywood stars, in the 50s already. So, some of the people got outed as communists, but really a lot of them were, witches into witchcraft. And if people really reacted to them being socialists and communists, imagine how they would have reacted back then for them to be into witchcraft. It would have been great if the churches, when this came out in 1957, this song, to say, hey, this guy is clearly for witchcraft if he's singing about it and making fun of it. But that's kind of what ends up happening. That's why these warnings are so important, because things can get out of hand where, they started with this song, and, well, now you see, like I said, the witchcraft in Harry Potter, and how much downhill it's gotten from then. So, this video would be on the EPHOD, because I was like, wondering some things. Now you see the Way of Life dictionary, and you can compare it to Webster's dictionary, and you can compare it to Webster's 28 dictionary, which is decent, but there's better. Like in case of the Moorish dictionary, look how much more detail it goes into about the ephod. You might not be able to see it too good on the screen, but you can see it's a lot more information. So if you compare that to the Easton's dictionary, a little less than the Easton's, and Fawcett's, a little less. There's also the Nave dictionary that can be helpful for like an outline. So I'd say the Nave's dictionary too is pretty good. I mean, I forget it's a man of Manasseh. So if someone talks about ephod, you'd say, "Oh, that person from Manasseh." Or they'd say, "What?" In Numbers 34:23, Prince of the children of Joseph, for the tribe of the children of Manasseh, Haniel the son of Ephod. So there was a person called Ephod back then. But to make this easy, the Nave's topical Bible says a sacred vestment worn by the high priest. So then it gives you the verses described too. So it gives you the outline. And really, most of the time you just need the Bible. Sometimes it helps a little bit, to get some more information on what they think it was. And, some of the details of it. So like some of these dictionaries are helpful. So in Moorish, it gives Exodus 28, 1 through 9, 1 through 39. So, I mean, it's kind of a long there too. So, I mean, there's kind of a lot there too. But, then they had these stones too that they're using for the 12 tribes of Israel. And if you go to this Eastern, it says originally by the high priest, but also an ordinary priest, but one makes the two distinctions. I don't know if it's a Smith's dictionary. Oh, it's not the Smith, sorry, Fawcett's maybe. Where, from what I understand, let's see. There was one here. Which one was it? Because they had some like the high priest and then the Levites, and some I think were saying that the one that was worn by the high priest was a little bit more special. I think it was this Moorish one. So if you read this, there's different colors, made of gold, blue, and purple, scarlet, fine twinen. I don't know how to say that. Linen, cunning work. And then there's also the curious girdle, and it mentions gold and thin plates and wires and stones for 6 names. It says 6 names on each stone. I guess let's see. Oh, 2 stones. He's talking about like these 2 stones that were on the shoulders. So they put each stone on top of their on the shoulders were fastened 2 stones engraved with the names of the 12 tribes, 6 names on each stone, so that whenever Aaron wore the ephod, the 12 tribes were represented. So they're on his shoulders. And he also robe of the ephod, which was blue. Along the bottom were pomegranates of blue, purple, scarlet, and bells of gold. Yeah, there was these bells of gold. And that's part of this robe. And the ephod to reach the knees. And then there was a breastplate over the ephod. And it says that for glory and for beauty, and repeats that. And then, it describes different things like the ephod. He thought of being righteousness, heavenliness, royalty, dignity. So says then there's ephods that other priests. I mean, he gives a lot of this Moorish. You got to give him credit. Probably just judging by this, he probably has the best dictionary on this. So you can still get the Morris dictionary. I don't know when they stopped making it, in maybe the 80s or something, but it'd be good to have a hard copy of that. I think I got one somewhere. I mean, let's see it. Let's go to Amazon and see if we can get the Morris dictionary. But what's helpful, obviously with, and you want to get the old one, I think. But because you want all these, sometimes they'll remake the book and then, oh, we're gonna cut it down, but you want all these. But what's nice about this is, oh, you can go here and then you can click on it and then it brings up these verses right here. So it's people forget that they have bonnets. They make fun of people. Oh, they had these. They make it fun of like people don't really realize it, and I don't either. And here's like a bonnet that a woman. I think that's a bonnet, and that's how they're dressing. I don't know if the women too, but if you look at this, the men had bonnets. Even the men had bonnets, and these coats and these girdles, and maybe I could do more of a video showing the pictures of this stuff. But for time's sake, it might not be in this video. But glory for beauty. So this is actually, like, Morris Dictionary covers a lot, and then he goes into the other ones, like 1 Samuel 129. So he's talking about they weren't worn on ordinary occasions. It was required when the directions were sought from God. So we have 1 Samuel 21:9. And it's interesting because you had the sword of Goliath, which he was killed at this time. And it was his sword, Goliath's sword, was wrapped in a cloth behind the ephod. Sometimes we forget about these things. So you see it, the robe of the ephod. That's a little bit, might be a little bit thinking at first, like it says, and the robe of the ephod, and the ephod. So you had the robe of the ephod and the ephod. So again, if we go to this, we might, so he thinks when it says, and the robe of the ephod and the ephod, it has the first ephod, which was a blue and had pomegranates, golden bells, and the hem of it. This was put over the broidered coat. And the ephod, which was made of blue, purple, scarlet, gold, and fine linen, it was a short garment put over the robe of the ephod. So kind of a lot to do. And so they had this, clothing. And what ended up happening was that, they had the ephod, and they made, let's see if I can find it. We got to go to Naves. Now we go to Naves topical. But before I forget, let's go back to Amazon. So we go back to Amazon and see if you did want to buy the Morris Bible Dictionary. You might have to get the older version. I don't know. Maybe I had it right originally spelled. I don't know why I was trying to correct it. Or wait, did I have it right? So if you want to buy this dictionary, just go back here. It's going to be kind of hard to find. So maybe it is the concise one. So I don't know if it's listed under this. It's probably one like this. I think you could find a cheaper version than that. But just look around. I know it's a little bit harder dictionary to find. I mean, here you see it from 1899. I know I found it somewhere else. It's under the New and Concise Bible Dictionary by Morris. So you're gonna have to look around for this one. And sometimes it'll happen where you have some good Bible book or something, and for whatever reason it goes out of print and you can't really find it. I mean, so I think I got it here. Let me just type it in. Oops. Let's see my orders. Oops, not that way. I guess. Okay. So here, I think I bought it a while ago. You can get it on Kindle, and then you can get it used. So, I have this dictionary somewhere. I don't know. Probably could find it if I needed to, but so I just put that up there in case you want to. It's 470 pages, but that's the thing with these dictionaries. Sometimes you'll have someone cover it good, and then the Fawcett dictionary is good to have too, because then sometimes Fawcett will cover things. So, obviously I'd get or maybe not so obvious, but I'd get the Morris dictionary, the Fawcett, and the Nave's Topical Bible. And then if you want, you could look into Smith's dictionary and the Easton's. Sometimes the Easton's good, but you could get the Easton, the Fawcett, the Morris dictionary, and the Nave's dictionary, and then the Webster's 1828 dictionary too. And I think you'd be pretty much set for the dictionaries. But see, in this case, they cover too. Gideon made an ephod of gold, and the purple raiment taken from the Midianites after when all the Israel went astray, and it became a snare to Gideon and his house. And Gideon made a ephod, it says in Judges 8:27, thereof, and put it in his city, even in Ophrah, and all Israel went thither a whoring after it, which thing became a snare unto Gideon and to his house. That'd be a study in itself. How did it become a snare? Maybe he made this ephod, and people, says went a whoring after it. Now, someone wanted me to do a book of Judges, like a verse by verse commentator video, but that'd be hard. It'd probably be better like in a book format, and I wouldn't be ready for that. So there goes my banana. Just because someone wants you to do a video doesn't mean you should. Where sometimes you get these channels and someone means good and they say, well, why don't you do a video on this? And a lot of times it just doesn't work because, to go through verse by verse in Judges would be hard. And I don't know, it'd probably end up being like 30 hours for all I know. And I might not even have the knowledge to do it. Because some of this stuff takes so much time to study. Like even this verse, you think like, okay, they made the ephod. We might think, well, so like, how did it look? Was it really big? Or did he just make it like a regular? But it says, when the gods were, little g, from the children of Dan, the Levite was glad to accompany the idol. So now it's talking into something else. So you have, you have also in Judges this person called Micah, if I'm saying that right, and there might be more than one Micah, had an house of gods, little g. and made an ephod and a teraphim and consecrated one of his sons who became his priest. So the point is, like, remember the high priest would wear the ephod, the clothing. Now, in Judges, from my understanding, they were for a time without a high priest. So, and I don't know if it was, when exactly that started, at what time. If it was already with Gideon. So that'd be something to study here. So, instead of, things were so falling apart that they were making idols and gods, and they made, that ephod that, had some, probably, this ephod that Gideon made, and, had some gold and stuff, and it probably was 700 shekels of gold, or was 1,700 shekels of gold. So I mean, it must have been pretty big. How much does a shekel weigh? See, that's the thing when you can look this up, and I think it'd be nice to have another. But you can always just go back. So if we look up, maybe they tell us how much a shekel weighs. Okay, they do. 130 grains for gold. So less grains for gold, which is interesting. Well, back then, in 1913, Webster's Dictionary, the approximate value of coins of gold are $5. That was in 1913. A shekel equal to 20 gerahs, Gerahs, used to weigh gold, cinnamon, hair. Wow, hair? How much does your weigh? You want to weigh your hair? Let's weigh it in shekels. You got a lot of hair? How many shekels does that weigh? That'd be a good title for a Bible video. You gotta pay your fines in shekels. That's where, like, the nave's topical. I kind of like this outline. It's like just an easy way to learn, because then you can look these up yourself. Where, like, if we go to the dictionaries, it's under money. But the Easton one has it. But again, these dictionaries are a little bit more helpful, because then, it does say, or I don't want to say more helpful, but, they're both helpful. But it comes and says 2 pounds of our money. So 2 pounds. Try air in here. So we got a shekel, 2 pounds, six gold shekels, according to the later Jewish system, was 50 silver ones. So if you think it's 2 pounds of our money, I mean, give or take, I guess. So if we go back, I guess, back. Now, how much was that ephod that they made? So if we're going back to Judges, remember, they made this golden ephod. That's kind of how this video started from last night. And so 1,700. So what was that? 2 pounds, did I say? And if that's accurate, this could have been over 3,000 pounds. So it had to be pretty big, you'd think. And so, like, you have this big gold thing. And you remember, like, so, like, without the high priest, they were trying to replace that with these objects that the high priest was wearing, and one of them was the ephod. And you know, so if we look up we could look up when did Israel lose its high priest? I don't know if it's going to come up or not. Sometimes it's good to use the search engines. Oops, I spelled that maybe wrong. Sometimes you have to type it in a little bit differently. So there's an encyclopedia too, where you might have even more information. I haven't used too much of the encyclopedias. So you could type in something like Israel was without a high priest, and we'll see what it says. See, then it brings up 2 Chronicles 15:31. For a long time, Israel's been without. But that's a New King James. I knew something was wrong. Well, I mean, not that I'm just saying that I usually read the King James. Now, for a long time, Israel hath been without the true God, and without teaching a priest, and without the law. Oh, I guess it's the same pretty much. Let's see, just season. Well, it's a little different. Like sometimes, like I said, like you notice how the new versions are worded, and since they have to change them, you know, to make a new version, sometimes they'll take the wording and then like flip, like just move it around slightly, but it can actually make it a little bit, I think, harder to understand. There's better examples of this, but I think this is kind of an example of. But there's a little bit better examples of this. But so if we go to 2 Chronicles 15:31, I mean, that's why, the Bible says study, it says it's work. I mean, you can see how this kind of a small topic on this video could turn into a 2-hour teaching. I don't know how long this is going to go. So, Second Chronicles 15:13, you can see the cross references. But in this case, I kind of want to just go to the commentators, and they can be helpful, but again, they're not going to be right all the times, but they are helpful, certain ones. So we go to Poole's. Usually, I just go to Poole, and you can get Poole's commentator diction book for like $30, 3 parts, or something like that. Let's see. Where am I? So it kind of goes into when it happened. I'm still trying to, some people use a chronological Bible, but I heard sometimes people think that's off a little bit. But maybe I'll have to look into getting something or helping, because then sometimes I don't know, like, okay, like the timelines of all this stuff, when comparing it to the Chronicles, Kings, Samuel, and Judges, and then some of the prophets. But let's see if I can get a different one. The British Bible Dictionary. So it's like in the days of Jeroboam, when Judah separated, Israel separated from Judah. So that's what the thing, they separated Israel and Judah, and then they were without. Then Israel was without. So, I mean, Israel separated Judah. So it says all the true priests went into the land of Judah. This Patrick said. So just something to consider. It says especially in the time of Judges. So then if you look at this next thing, there is a thing called a teraphim. And I think you first see it somewhere in like Genesis where she was taking that teraphim. So Rachel stole the teraphim from her father's house. And, that's always a surprising part of the Bible where we're reading in Genesis and, I don't know, it's just really surprising where Isaac is going with Rachel and, so, it's just kind of surprising where Rachel stole, Jacob and Rachel. Sometimes I can mess that up. So, Jacob and Rachel. I think it's Isaac and Rebecca and Leah, maybe. Let's see. Oh, I messed that up again. Leah. That's why I said I struggle with names, and now you guys see it. Even though I read this, I don't know how many times. And that's going to be the kind of hard part of this, where, even though I've read some of this, I don't know how many times, a lot. I still kind of struggle with, okay, now, Leah and Rachel, and then would it be Rebecca and Isaac? Okay. Oops, forgive me, Issachar. See, spelling too, I kind of struggle with. Oops. It says so little is recorded of him. But I don't know, there's stuff. So Rebecca and Isaac, and then, there's Esau and Jacob, but it says there's a little recorded of Isaac. Maybe there's some, like I said, sometimes these dictionaries are better. And again, the Naves Dictionary shows a good example here again, where the outline form, I think, for me, is just a little bit easier to read, and then you can go to yourself and study it. It's just an outline, and it might not cover everything, but it does cover quite a bit. So just to go back, not to get too off subject here, but anyway, so we go back to the teraphim, and it says household deities or images, and one verse that always kind of stuck out for me was, they were without a teraphim. Let's see, teraphim, spell it right. So we have about 6 references here to teraphims, and that's another way to study the Bible. But in Hosea 3:4, for the children of Israel shall abide many days without a king, and without a prince, and without a sacrifice, and without an image, and without an ephod, and without a teraphim. So these things, from my understanding, they used for worship, and when times of, like in Judges, where there was, everyone was doing to his own ways, whatever they thought was right in their own eyes, there was a lot of confusion going on amongst Israel, and they started, using these teraphims as a form of, probably turned into, in the time of Judges, into trouble, where if you look at this teraphim, you see the first thing, idolatry. But, it's not always the case there, but it can lead to idolatry, just like, these images can. So, let's say, you did have some of these images, they said before to destroy their images. So you just got to be really careful here, the first thing I'd think of, is the Catholic Church and all the images they use in statues, and how then people start praying to these statues, and you're not supposed to be doing that. So, I have like images on Bible verses up in my room. Someone else might have like an image of a cross or something. So I guess that'd be kind of similar in some ways. But, you'd have to make sure that you're worshiping God and not the image. And these teraphims, where they had these, and you could see, Laban, or if I'm saying that, Laban, I'm bad at that, but, had his own teraphim. So I'm thinking that these teraphims, other religions had them too. But, it's interesting. It says, it makes it distinguished without an ephod, without a teraphim. So without an image. So the Bible's trying to tell you that, it had to do a lot with the image, seeing it. So seeing the ephod, seeing the teraphim, it became the image, and, where it represented something. Like we said, we went into a little bit about the ephod. People started then, in Gideon, they made that, like, was it 1,700 shekels of gold, and made that golden ephod. They made it into an image, and then it became a snare because people went a whoring after it. And we know that, images, the man of sin, the Antichrist, is coming, and from my understanding, I think it's the false prophet. He's going to set an image up of the Antichrist, and people are going to worship the image of the beast. So you got to be careful of these images. Like I said, like I have images of Bible verses, or you might see in Facebook, someone putting a Bible verse with a picture with maybe nature and stuff. But then, doing that, let's say you have a Bible verse with a picture of a nature and you put it on Facebook, you want to make sure that you don't worship the nature. Same thing with the cross. Nothing wrong, some people wear a cross to remind them. But just, I'd say, if you do something like that, I slipped before, and I was wearing stuff and, not representing Christ like I should. Fortunately for me, it was more at my house when I'd wear it. So, but, at times, when I'm talking about Christ too, and you got to remember, okay, what are you doing when you're talking about Jesus? What are you, how are you being represented? What do people think of you? Like, what do they know about you? And so, like, a lot of people wear a cross, and then, if you're swearing and, not talking much about Jesus, and, I'd say it'd be better not to wear it. So that being said, if someone, did have the cross, like a picture or something, to just kind of, remind them of Jesus and, the price he paid, and nothing wrong with that. But then just don't go worshiping the cross, instead of Jesus. Or if you have the Bible verses with nature or something, don't go worshiping nature. Like some people, I mean, God made everything, so that's great. So his creation is beautiful. But don't go worshiping it instead of the creator. So lastly, and remember that this teraphim, the ephod too, remember in Judges that Micah was making it. But the teraphim, were just more images. And if you want to do study, you can kind of look more, but for time's sake. But then also we have to do a study on the Urim and, I always forget the other part, Terim or something, Urim and Urim and Thummim. And it's kind of like one of those things where there's some stuff on it. So it was in the breastplate. Remember, this breastplate too had like 12 stones on it from the 12 tribes of Israel. But they'd sometimes go to this Urim and Thummim, I can't say it, but Urim, and then the next word Thummim. And you see this, they asked Eleazar, Eleazar, some people are good at pronouncing names, I'm not. They asked for Joshua after the judgment. So Numbers 27:21, and he shall stand before Eleazar the priest, and shall ask counsel for him after the judgment of Urim, and before Urim before the Lord, and his words they shall go out, and at his word they shall come in, both he and all the children of Israel with him, even all the congregation. So there's the church in the Old Testament, the congregation. But see, the judgment of Urim. So, it was in the breastplate, this Urim and Thummim, so they go to it and seek counsel, and you know and when Saul inquired of the Lord, and the Lord not by answered him not neither by dreams, nor by the Urim, nor by the prophets. So God was talking to people through dreams and through prophets, and then through this thing called the Urim and Thummim. But I don't know why it just says sometimes the Urim, and sometimes we just had the previous verse, it just said Urim and it left the second word out. I'm not really sure why, to be honest, but something maybe you could figure out. I don't know. So it's put in the breastplate of judgment. And thou shalt put in the breastplate of judgment the Urim and Thummim, and it shall be upon Aaron's heart, and they shall be upon Aaron's heart when he goeth in before the Lord, and Aaron shall bear the judgment of the children of Israel upon his heart before the Lord continually. So it was a big deal, and there's not a lot of verses on this, but you see a little bit here in Judges 1:1, and so they're asking in Judges 1:1, shall we go against the Canaanites to fight? And in this one too, and shall we go up to battle against the children of Benjamin? And then they're asking in the 23, and the children of Israel wept. They asked the Lord, shall we go up again to the Benjamins? So sometimes they'd counsel this Urim, and it signifies light and protection. So, like some people wonder exactly how it looked, and if we go to these other dictionaries, it has some other verses here, and in the breastplate, it says in Leviticus 8:8, and it's put in the breastplate the Urim and the Thummim, and then he says to shall we go out, and after the judgment of the Urim, and at his word they shall go out. So they were using this, and so in Levi he said, let thy Thummim and thy Urim be with thy Holy One, and whom thou didst prove at Massah, and with whom thou didst strive at the waters of Meribah. So again, I just kind of struggle with these locations, so I'd have to look up, okay, where is, again, what happened in Massah and Meribah. But again, a good one is in 1 Samuel 28:6. And when Saul inquired of the Lord answered him not neither by dreams, nor by Urim, nor by the prophets. So again, I don't know why, it doesn't say by the Urim and the Thummim, but it just says the Urim there. So here's some other verses here in Ezra and Nehemiah, which I think is important, so kind of like what time they're still using this. It says it's first mentioned in Exodus 28:6. So that's about all the verses there for that. So again, this helps for the outline, and then the dictionaries. Tories, actually, I forgot about Tories. So Tories is good too. You might want to get Tories too. It's a topical textbook, just like Naves, but just you can use both. I mean, they're both helpful. I'm not sure which one's more helpful. Maybe the Naves topical, if I had to pick one, I guess. But the Tories is pretty good too. So it says, and so that's about it, I think, for this video. So this has been a video on some of those things as far as we covered to review that witchcraft and kind of gave the Bible definition of that. And then we covered the EPHOD and covered what that EPHOD was. Then also some of the Bible dictionaries and going into some of those things there as far as Israel and some of these images like the TERAPHIM that they used in the Urim and Thummim. And then we also covered too some other things in the Bible as far as when things, when they didn't have a high priest and how, these images, we could say became a snare to them and people went a whoring after them. So, too, we covered some of the stuff like what the priests wore. And, there's a lot in the book, of Leviticus and the ordinances and, it's important. So, kind of a lot covered, but that's why, these videos take a long time. And you can see that covering something like this, if you really want to cover it in a good way without trying not to leave out too much information, it is time consuming. And to remember, the Bible does say study takes work, and so does watching this video. I mean, some of the YouTube videos are just for entertainment, but really it should be about, not to say it can't always be something, you could make it a little entertaining if you want, once in a while, but it really should be done more like in a serious matter and not like, just a joking matter if you're doing these Bible videos. And, it should be a teaching, and there's all different levels of, teachers out there as far as, maybe what they know. Again, maybe your expertise is in geography, or maybe you really are good at remembering and you know all these names of the Bible characters or people and you know all about them, or maybe you know about geography and the location. So maybe God can, you can use that. And, in my case, I feel like, the Lord gave me some of these Bible programs to use and, wisdom how to use them. And, maybe I don't have the memory to always remember some of this stuff, but, using these programs and these that didn't exist, right? We couldn't have done this years ago, like go here. And so I'm just kind of using, what God gave me and try to make a video. And there's people that know more about the Bible than I do. But, I just feel like, just trying to do the video and just trying to do it, take it serious and try to help others and do videos where maybe I think sometimes the videos aren't really there, and or maybe where you guys had questions of certain things. So then if I see that come up when I'm reading the Bible, studying the Bible, and then I think, okay, I can do a video on it and maybe help someone. But they end up being kind of long, but that's just going to be the case. So I hope this video has helped you, and hope you have a good day.